Hello, everybody. This is Pastor Willie, and this is the encouraging word for today. The greatest compliment given by God to a human being was given to King David. Given to King David. David was called a man after God's own heart. A man who had a desire for God. Was David perfect? Definitely not. Did David fail? Definitely failed. Was he a good role model? Yes, because his heart, he had a desire for God. He was a man after God's own heart. And think about it for a moment. Desire is what drives us in life. It drives us to maybe we fall in love with somebody else. It drives us to pursue them. Or maybe we desire to buy a house, or desire to have a certain type of job or car or things like that. It just drives us. It motivates us. Without desire, we just go through the motions, so to speak. So desire drives us in a particular direction. So it's necessary to have desire. But desire, as David found out, is also dangerous if that desire goes in the wrong direction, as it did with David and Bathsheba and on a few other occasions in his life. Today we're going to look at Psalm 63 and the context of the psalm. I mean, what's happening at the time the psalm was written or referred to is given us in the title, when David was in the desert. He was probably running from Absalom, and he was in the desert. So when we're in the desert, one thing we desire is water. And I've been thirsty. Maybe I was outside a long time and didn't drink. I felt thirsty and I desired water. But I've never been in a situation where I didn't have water for a long time. But I imagine the longer I am without water, the more I will desire it. It's the same thing with hunger, which can be used interchangeably in the Bible, hunger and thirst. When you're hungry, when you're really hungry, so you don't eat for a day, you're fasting, the first thing you eat, you just have such a desire, and it could be a piece of bread, and you say, that's the greatest bread I ever had, with that jelly on it. It's amazing, because that desire, the desire. So David's in the desert, physically in a desert. And this is stirring him. Maybe he was thirsty, but it's stirring him to think about his relationship with God, stirring him to think about his desire for God. And today, I don't want you to be in a desert with no water, but I want you to kind of put yourself in that position and evaluate yourself, evaluate your heart. Do you have that desire, that thirst for God? And so in that context, that situation, David writes a psalm. It was probably a song. He was probably praying it out to God, singing it out to God. In Psalm 63 verse 1, David says this, "You, God, are my God. Earnestly I seek you. I thirst for you. My whole body longs for you in a dry and parched land where there is no water." So you, God. So he's not thinking of physical water anymore. That's maybe stirred him to think about God. He says, you, God, you are my God. And then he says, earnestly I seek you. It's not like, yeah, I'll go to church once in a while when I'm able. Maybe I'll watch it online, But no, he's earnestly seeking God. He desires God. He has a hunger and thirst. And be honest with yourself. Do you have that hunger and thirst for God? If not, the best place to begin is honesty. God, I don't have that thirst. I had it at one time in my life. I pray, God, you give me that thirst, that desire for you. So evaluate yourself. He says, earnestly I seek you. That's when you lose something valuable. You're seeking for it. You're looking for it. You're desperate. You're desiring to find it. I thirst for you. Spiritually, he's thirsty for God. What a great place to be. What a wonderful place to be. I want to be thirsty for God. Because you know what? God fills those who are thirsty. Those who are not thirsty, he doesn't fill them because they're not thirsty. I want to live thirsty. And if you're not thirsty today, ask God to make you thirsty. He says, my whole being longs for you. Desire. What a beautiful picture of desire. And that's the desire God wants in our hearts. That's what I want in my heart. And then he describes where he is, in a dry and parched land where there is no water. And you know what, my friends? The world we live in is a dry and parched land. There's no water. And if we think about it, we have a desire to satisfy ourselves. But you can try money, relationships, this, that, politics, all of these different things that the world offers. But in the end, they're empty. They will not satisfy because everything is nothing compared with being filled with God's fresh water. So ask God to make you thirsty today. He will fill you and he will have you living in a well-watered garden. God bless you. I'll see you tomorrow on Facebook Live, God willing.